When an outbound calendar invite leaves your marketing system, it typically enters a void. You fire it off and immediately lose all visibility. This happens because standard event marketing relies heavily on static .ics files. You attach the file to an email or a landing page and hope the user downloads it. The moment that static file is downloaded and processed by the user's local application, your connection to it is severed. There is no line of communication back to your server. You are left operating entirely in the dark. If a user accepts, declines, or deletes the event later, that intent data remains trapped inside their personal calendar application. Modern marketing tech demands real-time feedback loops. We expect granular, live updating metrics for email opens, click-through rates, and page views. Accepting this loss of visibility for calendar events severely restricts your ability to scale campaigns. Without a closed data loop, accurate attribution is impossible, and your engagement metrics will always be incomplete. Fixing this requires abandoning the static file attachment entirely. We have to transition calendar events into a dynamic, queryable REST API ecosystem. This blueprint shows the conceptual architecture of that new model. It operates like an interconnected industrial pipeline, designed to continuously route and refine incoming information. We call this the calendar data refinery. Instead of generating disposable files, it treats every event parameter as a live, stateful database entry. To build this, we have to bypass clunky third-party middleware and deploy directly into native AWS infrastructure. The process follows a strict lifecycle: data ingestion, structured disassembly, omnichannel deployment, and finally, real-time tracking. Engineering a data pipeline exactly like this allows us to extract live intent metrics, regardless of which calendar client the end user happens to prefer. The entire deployment establishes its bedrock securely inside your own AWS environment. Setup begins with a CloudFormation template. It executes within your account, specifically taking over a designated Amazon SES domain to establish a native pipeline. That SES domain enables the creation of a universal ingestion point, an automated createatyourdomain.com inbox. Now we have a secure endpoint. Event organizers can begin routing their raw schedule data directly into this specific inbox. Whether it's a human manually typing details or an AI scraping a schedule, the interface acts as a high-powered CRUD engine: create, read, update, delete. Every change made at the console pushes instantly down the funnel and into the central pipeline. Owning this ingestion flow guarantees your raw data remains entirely within your secure servers. There is no third-party leakage before you even publish the event. Once the event is ingested, we move to the disassembly phase. The rigid structure of a standard calendar invite is completely dismantled. The raw data is fractured into constituent nodes. The title, the date, and the metadata are separated out. These independent data points are then routed and stored inside DynamoDB and S3 environments to ensure they remain isolated and highly flexible. Here is where the tracking becomes possible. During disassembly, every unique user iteration is assigned a persistent, sticky UID. When distributing the event, REST APIs query that specific sticky UID, instructing the backend to pull up-to-date data points out of storage. The queried data is reconstructed dynamically, packaged, and pushed through the API gateway. By disassembling data and tagging it with that UID, we've transformed the event from a stagnant offline file into an agile, highly trackable network query. With the backend database mechanics established, the data is ready for front-end deployment through the centralized marketing hub. The hub takes that highly structured backend data and feeds it outward into 3 very distinct distribution channels. The first 2 pillars are dynamic landing pages and VIP bulk sends. These are standard workflows, but they are now fully trackable because they run on our API architecture. The third pillar, embedded email integrations, represents the most significant departure from traditional methods. There's a persistent misconception that distributing calendar invites via platforms like MailChimp requires high-friction landing pages or isolated .ics files. You do not. You can place the raw REST API link directly inside standard HTML call-to-action buttons within email templates. Looking closely at the link's X-ray anatomy, the event_ID and unique user UID are embedded directly into the target URL. Because the API handles all the heavy logic on the backend, a single click by the user instantly triggers the invite drop, fully tagged and tracked. This table illustrates the scale potential. By injecting the API into standard email marketing, your deployment volume is limited only by the size of your campaign list. Stripping away landing page friction and relying on direct API button injection yields higher user opt-in rates, all while maintaining perfect tracking fidelity. Our linear step-by-step pipeline actually functions in production as a continuous feedback loop. Because every deployed invite carries that specific sticky UID, user actions are never isolated events. They function as direct API calls back to the server. When an end user clicks Yes on the embedded email CTA, that interaction is instantly logged. This new architecture solves the walled garden problem. If a user accepts an event, but 3 weeks later changes their RSVP to decline directly inside their Apple or Microsoft calendar, the API catches the status change. The sticky UID operates as a permanent tether. It ensures that intent data flows seamlessly from heavily restricted third-party inboxes back to your API gateway, entirely eliminating the need for manual reconciliation. The ultimate payoff of this continuous data loop is the ability to generate real-time, live updating analytics. This dashboard shows how the backend DynamoDB feed translates API pings into an immediate breakdown of accepts, declines, and tentatives. This intent tracking aggregates data across all channels simultaneously. Landing pages, bulk uploads, and embedded emails all report back to the exact same hub. This diagram illustrates that true mastery of calendar events requires 3 distinct pillars: secure architecture, omni-channel application, and closed-loop analytics. Implementing this ecosystem elevates event marketing. You stop guessing what happens after an invite is downloaded, and you start treating scheduling as a rigorous engineering discipline. By taking ownership of the infrastructure and utilizing REST APIs, you achieve absolute data continuity, turning every calendar invite into a precise, measurable touchpoint.